the latest outlandish claim by Israel is that Hezbollah, apparently, according to them, is hiding lots of gold, millions of dollars in gold and cash in a bunker underneath a hospital. What do you know?
Crazy that would happen.
It's so crazy. Hamas is hiding all their weapons under hospitals in Gaza.
If I was going up against Israel, that's the last place I would hide something.
Yeah.
Right, because it's the first place they look. But they are dumb savages because they're Muslims. So you have
They never learn. They never learn.
Yeah, duh. They're just blindly motivated by their hatred of Jews. Anyway, so the BBC was able to investigate this claim. They were able to go under the Al-Sahel hospital in Beirut. That's where Israel is claiming that millions of dollars of cash and gold are being hidden. A reminder, Israel has decimated the healthcare system in Beirut, in southern Lebanon. It's hanging by a thread. I saw an American Wall Street Journal reporter got a quote from a hospital director. It's like dominoes. If we close, the other hospitals will start to close. So Israel is making, it's following through on its promise. A lot of the Likud party leaders said they wanted to turn Beirut into Gaza. My God, they're doing their best to do that. But here's another piece of their insane propaganda debunked by the BBC.
Well, we're on level -2 in the Al Sahel hospital. The area just behind me is where medical waste is stored. Even that was opened up for us to have a look. The morgue was opened up. All of the drawers were opened to show us there was nothing inside. Doctors have been opening piles of surgical scrubs, boxes of equipment, very, very keen to show us everything there is to see and to prove that there is nothing here. Well, I'm just coming now from the basement on -2 up to -1. We've been brought around the hospital by doctors. We've also been allowed to move around on our own. Doors have been opened for us in every area, cupboards. We've been allowed to see what there is to see. Now, the hospital staff are adamant that there is no hidden bunker here containing millions of dollars of cash or gold, as the Israelis have claimed. They say this is just a hospital where patients were being treated last night and where they had to be evacuated from the emergency area at great speed because doctors were worried for the lives of the patients and also worried for the staff.
So I also want to state the obvious here. Money and gold. First of all, if anyone had claimed that Israel was hiding a bunch of gold under their hospital system and that justified Hezbollah bombing it, the amount, I mean,
you don't even need to spell it out.
You understand how anti-Semitic that accusation would be, but when it's done towards another group of people to justify attacking a hospital, I guess it doesn't count, but whatever. I mean, weapons under a hospital, even if that were true, wouldn't justify it. Why would it justify it if there were gold under there? Who cares if Hezbollah has money? They're a political party in a different country. I mean, you can call them a terrorist organization. They're a resistance organization towards Israel. And I'm sure if I were to parse through the views of this resistance group as a cozy Westerner here in Brooklyn, that I would find many of their views distasteful. Perhaps they'd have an opportunity to update potentially retrograde social views as a political party in Lebanon if they weren't worried about Israel expanding their territory into Lebanon.
A belligerent neighbor that regularly invades them. Yeah,
bombing the hell out of them. Perhaps they would have that luxury if that were the case.
Well, it's not like Israel's politics are particularly leftish. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I saw that guy. Notwithstanding.
Did you see that guy Noah Smith on Twitter, who's been one of the biggest liberal Zionist defenders, just the other day discovered that interfaith marriages are illegal in Israel? It's like We've been saying that but for years.
But who? This is the American press for you, which is owned by Zionists, and that's why Zach Beauchamp at Vox is the guy on this same fucking beat. He's the Israel expert, and he thought there was a land bridge connecting Gaza and the West Bank.
Yeah,
these people are put there for their idiocy and their pliancy to the people who are above them.
That Noah Smith guy's a real scumbag, though, because he was one of those people who was spreading misinformation about when those doctors were reporting that Israeli snipers were shooting children in the head, and they had the literal MRI scans. I think they were not X-rays, but MRI scans. He was one of those people who was sowing doubt about the veracity of those scans to the point where the New York Times had to even come out and go no, we've verified these. We've independently verified these. We've shown them to experts. They are what we say they are. And then he kind of just slunk away from taking responsibility for that, only to now be talking about now for the first time reading the Israel Wikipedia page, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's astounding to me because all of this information was available to liberal Zionists prior to that. What has changed? There are very few of them are.
They thought it was anti-Semitic back then. They didn't even look into it. Rashid Khalidi, that seems like he might be anti-Semitic.
You're a baby. You're a little baby. You're a little baby.
Yes, you've just described the average conservative.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a number of things though. For real though, like some of the things we just mentioned, it's the fact that a lot of people, and this isn't just on this issue either. A lot of times, people who bloviate so strongly about something, especially if you're a neoliberal or a conservative, they're usually the low information individual. They're usually the one who's most uneducated about the issue, but think they know it all. Right. And then they bloviate about it, and it turns out that they later on discover something, but there's no introspection either. There's no introspection. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know this. Maybe I don't know about a lot of things on this particular issue. No, not at all. Not at all. But then also I do think, I don't know if this is this particular person, but also a lot of it, they just don't care. They know, but they lie. They lie about it. Yeah. They just lie. They know everything they need to know about what's wrong, but they don't care, or they support it outright. They just support it. They're just bad people sometimes.
Yeah, and I just want to correct myself really quickly about the hospital. I'm not sure if they bombed it, but they threatened it. And other, facilities have been targeted in Lebanon. I'm sorry, it's a little bit hard to keep track, but keep going, Brandon.
Well, I just wanted to say maybe the obvious, which is that this is why Israel does not want journalists alive or Western in Gaza right now. Because when you can just send a BBC correspondent to the place, to the hospital that you say there are weapons, and they can just go look around and report back live, it kind of destabilizes Israel's ability to spread disinformation and misinformation about why they get to do or expand their genocide, right? Yeah. Obviously, all of the previously disproved lies, all of the sloppy propaganda, this disproved lie won't be enough for people who want to believe in Israel's, inherent morality, probably because they want to believe in the United States' inherent morality or the UK's inherent morality, to start to reconfigure how they view the next thing that Israel says. But for someone who's been watching critically, this is just one of another in a pattern of lies, right? It won't be enough to get people who are cozying up to power to admit that they're chronic liars. But this is why they don't want journalists in Gaza. This is why they're targeting them in Jabalia right now.
Right, exactly. And I guess they bombed near, I don't know, the hospital.
That hospital they clearly want to bomb, or they wouldn't be saying that stuff about it.
Right, but that was the prerequisite before they bombed the other one.
Exactly.
It probably was a year ago, from this week, maybe, when we were having that conversation about the misfired Hamas rocket.
Literally a year
Remember
ago.
That, guys? A year ago?
And somebody in our space said that Rashida Tlaib should apologize for it, saying that Israel shouldn't attack hospitals. And then what happened since? All the hospitals in Gaza.
Well, it was apparently, this was a big issue in my personal life. This particular issue was the fucking, this hospital.
Israel would never. It was clearly
how could you say that without evidence? That we're being told that it could be a Hamas misfired rocket. I said at the time, Israel, it took them 9 months to claim, they lied and said it was a misfired Palestinian bullet that killed Shireen Abu Akleh back before the active genocide began. They lie until they don't have to anymore, and then they go, whoopsie, I mean, that's how it goes. And so now, is there any even conversation? They're saying, well, we have to bomb the hospitals.
Yeah, because the terrorists are hiding stuff in there. Again, you see the liberal Zionists living in a fantasy that existed for a little bit and, round the clock out on things, but now they're just moved to more the Likud thing. Like, actually, this violence is justified and we're going to continue it.
And I just have such little respect for not reckoning with your priors in that regard. I mean, truly, as I just said earlier, you're a baby. You're a little baby.
A lot of babies
to live in your
there.
little safe space, and not really reckon with America's role in the world, and by extension, Israel's. And frankly, there are a lot of liberal Zionists out there who are racial supremacists. They're racial supremacists.
Yep.
And
we see it.
And we see you. And functionally, your ideology is no different from Nazis.
Exactly, Likud Nazis. I would just say this is what liberal Zionists, this is their response to all this.
Well, I just can't even.
Anyway.
Thanks for joining the chat.
Yeah. Chris Burdick said...
It's funny, there's certain people that could have Sam on, but they'd rather take screenshots of our YouTube chat. It's coward behavior, I would say.
I had the flu since Friday, so I did just see, that Ethan Klein has included me in his attacks on Hassan. I will say that, if you don't want to have a conversation, if you think, I'm an anti-Semite or whatever, or Hassan is, we're not. I shouldn't have to say that.
I mean, it's stupid. I mean, go fuck yourself.
But he can have a conversation with Sam Seder. I mean, Sam is a proud Jewish man, proud of his Jewish heritage.
Go ahead, call Sam an anti-Semite or soft on terror. See how that goes for you, Ethan.
Unless he's too afraid.
And there's other streamers we don't need to name, but a lot of people having freakouts because they've shown their ass for a year.
Yep.
It's a gamer channel. This is one of those gamers that I hear about.
There's some gamers losing their minds. Yeah, a lot of weird, a lot of people moving in very strange ways.
I know.
It's interesting.
And again, I have maybe an old school media diet, so I don't follow some of this Twitch stuff. I only really follow Hassan and Vosh to a lesser extent because I'm friendly with both of them, and so I know their work from being friendly with both of them. But when I see this other stuff crop up, I'm like, Jesus, where did this come from? But apparently, I guess there's been some issue with
I've seen some pretty gross comments out of a lot of different mouths that if people want to dig up stuff, racist bigotry and stuff like that, even Jewish groups, we can have this deep conversation about bigotry. Let's welcome this, folks.
Well, you actually listened to two people you just mentioned who are in that world, but are in that world for, weird reasons, because they actually are knowledgeable about the issues and actually do the work and talk about things that they know about. Talking about, someone like a Hassan or a Vosh, whatever you think of them personally, they clearly do the work and know what they're talking about and are very educated on the subjects they're talking about. The other people we're talking about, it's the same sort of, thing I was talking about earlier, when you have these people who don't know very much and bloviate about things. I mean, it's no surprise that so many of the people from the gaming world who made all their fame from playing World of Warcraft or some shit like that, all of a sudden over the past year or so, or a couple of years, all of a sudden they're all of a sudden political experts and talking about this stuff. They've been, all of a sudden that's how they gained their fan base. No, they're doing the same thing they did when they were streamers for video games or whatever. They're creating as much controversy and drama as possible because all they care about is views. That's what it comes down to. There's no other way around it, because that's that whole industry. You see it for all these guys.
And I think, Binder, to your point, there's clearly some sort of, I don't know, lately it's difficult to build up an audience, I think, if you don't already have an established platform. We're in a very calcified environment, consolidated market on the internet. And I think a lot of YouTube channels or Twitch channels or other, they're getting notes from algorithmic experts about how debate and conflict is actually the biggest driver of views right now. I used to work and look at some of those analyses, and you have to change your coverage based on that kind of stuff to get more views. And I think a lot of channels are following suit. We all have to make money. I get it. But I think what I like about what our show does is that we are a consistent product. And I think it also creates less volatility, because when you're constantly chasing, like, this is what this consultant or this person on this platform is telling you is doing the best for numbers right now, then that's going to change the next year. And then you have to change your value proposition or what you're providing for people in the next year. I would rather just do the same show the same way. I mean, adjust accordingly to an extent, but I do think, like, people should be aware that right now, my hunch from seeing on the outside is that there's a lot of data telling these YouTube channels that debate and disagreement is driving a lot of views and money for people.
Well, that's because they can't do what we do. They can't do like a Torts conference show or have Mark Joseph Stern. None of them want to do this like deep. I'm just looking through our recent shows, and it's just like all things that none of these people want to fucking do.
Yeah.
Like like our first half. None of these people have the depth for it. And so it is also just like policing other people's chats and just debased behavior like that.
But what you're talking about exactly speaks to the longevity of what we do and other people like us do. Like, you can see that we're like and I'm talking about the Majority Report as a whole and other streamers who have been doing this for as long as we have in the news and politics world. There's longevity here because we know what we're
Kyle
talking about.
Kyle Kalinski's another example.
Or Democracy Now! A generation earlier.
Democracy Now! Exactly. Yeah.
People know that when they come to us, whatever it is, even if they disagree, they know that we're legit. It's the same thing as why you hear like conservatives even say like, I might disagree with everything about Bernie Sanders, but that's a guy with integrity because he believes what he says and he knows what he's talking about from his perspective. But then you look at the people that we're talking about on the other side of this. There's a reason why every year or so, every couple of years, maybe if they're lucky, they're jumping on the new thing. Like why do we have people who got big as World of Warcraft streamers suddenly bloviating about his opinion about Palestinian culture in his dirty ass roach infested room? It's because there's no longevity.
I don't even know which one that is.
Ask anybody. There's no longevity in what any of these guys do, because at the end of the day, what they do is short-term, pure bursts of entertainment and are valueless. They bring no value to the world, period, in terms of what they do.
And the crowd ages out of them.
Yes, and the crowd ages out, and then they are left trying to bilk an entirely new generation all over again. That's why you got these old motherfuckers like Andrew Tate with influencing kids who are 30, 40 years younger than him, because there's only those kids can be so manipulated.
The lack of perspective.
That this idiot has anything of value to offer you.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.